Hello, I'm Luna, and this is Luna Report. The head chef burned the signature dish for a VIP guest, and then a quiet waitress stepped in. What she did next? Better than the chef. But who was the mysterious VIP? Find out tonight on Luna Report. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Luna. Back to the studio, and we begin. In Manhattan's Upper East Side, beneath chandeliers worth more than college degrees, and behind a velvet curtain where whispers carried more weight than applause, stood Céline, a two-star Michelin restaurant that didn't just serve food, it served reverence. The staff walked like models. The maitre d' wore Tom Ford. Dishes were plated with tweezers, clients, oil magnates, A-list directors, hedge fund royals. Prestige wasn't a garnish here, it was the main course. And into this cathedral of culinary power walked Kelly. No makeup, no fragrance, no $400 clogs, just a second-hand blouse and a black apron tied with a cook's knot. She didn't say much, just handed her resume to the assistant GM with quiet eyes and a posture that was neither timid nor defiant, just present. She'd been fired 3 weeks earlier from a diner on Canal Street for lack of alignment with branding, translation too quiet to flirt with customers. Here, that silence stuck out even worse. She's from fast food, muttered Diego, a line cook with a sleeve of tattoos and a love for shouting. Make sure she knows where the mop closet is. God help us if she touches the foie, snapped Madeline, the sous chef. Her voice could flay skin. We're running a kitchen, not a cafeteria. Another whisper, she's pretty in a Catholic school yearbook way. Probably thinks ketchup is a spice. Kelly didn't reply. She nodded, picked up an empty tray, began clearing water glasses like a ghost in work shoes. No one taught her the ropes because no one thought she'd last the week. Céline's staff were apex predators. They prided themselves on meanness polished into charm, cruelty that wore cologne. Newcomers were meat. The first 3 days were psychological warfare. One server accidentally sent her into the wrong private dining room where a governor's wife sneered at her like a stain. Another swapped her order tickets until a plate of duck orange went to a vegan influencer. Kelly apologized, took the blame. Always quiet, always calm. Robot girl's gonna crack, said Diego by the espresso station. Soon as a real table hits her. She didn't crack. She worked every shift like she was invisible. And in a place like Céline, invisibility was both curse and shield. But then came Friday. The table was VIP. Forbes list, magazine shoot, 6 guests. A specialty dish known only to the head chef and the photographer's assistant. The plating would go on Bon Appetit's fall cover. Everyone was watching. And 5 minutes before the dish was due, it burned. No worse, it collapsed. Oversalted, overcooked, a smear of black crust on a $200 plate. The head chef screamed. Madeline went white. Time 6 minutes to plating. Everyone froze, and then Kelly stepped forward. Without a word. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't flinch. Kelly's hands moved with the certainty of muscle memory, not arrogance. She grabbed a copper pan, her fingers brushing aside Madeline's without looking. Her silence was louder than the chef's panic. Get her away from my station, someone barked, but no one moved. It was like watching a trespasser walk into a temple with no fear of being struck down. She moved with terrifying calm, butter, thyme, a pinch of cayenne. She reduced the sauce in half the time, lifted the filet from a separate prep pan that hadn't been touched, and sliced against the grain in 2 swift, perfect cuts. She used a squeeze of lemon from her apron, not the kitchen's curated stash. One of the busboys whispered, "That's not on the recipe." Exactly. By minute 5, the plating was done. White ceramic gleamed beneath a fan of perfectly seared duck, crimson rare, a brush of sauce that shimmered like oil paint. Tiny edible violets from the garnish fridge no one else touched lay across the top like an afterthought from someone who knew. The room held its breath. The dish was lifted, carried out, placed in front of the billionaire with the watch that ticked only on leap years. The man tasted it. He didn't speak. He chewed, swallowed, then placed his fork down, slow, reverent. He closed his eyes. This, he whispered, is better than l'arpège, better than Paris. Silence strangled the kitchen. Someone dropped a ramekin. No one laughed. The photographer leaned back from his monitor. Who cooked this? The chef turned toward Kelly, his jaw locked so tight it trembled. The sous chef blinked, her fingers twitching like she was grasping for a knife. But Kelly? She just wiped her hands on a cloth napkin and said, "I'm not a chef, I just didn't want dinner to be late." Then she left the line. No swagger, no smile, no need. The kitchen, the one that mocked her, sneered at her, treated her like bacteria on steel, stood paralyzed. No one clapped. No one dared. Because deep down they all knew something had shifted. Something was coming. And it wore no makeup. By morning, Céline's gossip lines were boiling. Diego stormed through prep, muttering curses. She stole the plate. It wasn't hers. His hands shook while slicing radishes. Madeline pretended nothing happened. She filed a kitchen breach report that quietly disappeared before lunch. The chef, Christophe Leroux, a man who'd once made Gordon Ramsay apologize, spent the early shift rewinding camera footage. Alone in his office, he watched Kelly's hands, watched the lemon squeeze, watched her twist the pepper grinder left-handed, a habit only seasoned cooks ever develop. He paused the video, breathing hard. At 2:17 p.m., Céline's main line rang. The manager took it, then stopped speaking. It was Ramsay's team. They wanted to know who'd saved the plate. Who plated the duck? What's her name? The manager stammered, Chef Leroux, of course, we have the clip. But they already had their own. Someone, probably the photographer's assistant, had uploaded it. A 17-second clip titled The Girl Behind the Sauce. It hit 40,000 views by noon. By dinner service, it was at 7. Kelly showed up on time. Black pants, clean shoes, her hair in a low bun. No makeup, no hint of what had happened. She collected menus, like always. And the moment she stepped into the back kitchen, a voice snapped across the stainless steel. Out. It was Leroux. He pointed at the service hallway. You don't belong here. Kelly blinked once. She didn't protest. She placed her tray down, stepped aside, and walked into the alley behind the restaurant. She stood beside the trash bins, her breath visible in the cold. Inside, Diego laughed. Finally, kitchen's clean again. But just before midnight, an email hit every staff inbox. From Gordon Ramsay Studios. Subject line, casting inquiry, immediate placement, urgent, and in the body, we are seeking to contact Kelly, no last name, who served and plated the duck a la minute at Céline. Chef Ramsay has watched the footage. He wishes to meet her in person, full expense covered, immediate offer. No one moved. No one dared to speak, because the only person who wasn't checking their phone was already gone. Kelly didn't wait to be thanked. She just served, and then disappeared like smoke. Chef Leroux made his move the next morning. He called a closed staff meeting. His voice was firm, his stare colder than walk-in steel. Yes, the dish last night was mine, he announced. A modified reduction I'd been experimenting with. She, the girl, helped carry ingredients, that's all. No one challenged him out loud. Not Madeline, who knew she hadn't seen that lemon or those violets before. Not Diego, who suddenly couldn't meet anyone's eyes. She's not trained, Leroux added. She got lucky. He looked around the room. Let that be a lesson. No freelancing. No fantasies. This is a Michelin kitchen, not some TikTok fairy tale. Phones stayed out of sight. Knives clacked like punctuation marks, but no one said a word. That night, Kelly showed up for work again, on time as always, quiet, focused, but this time, the dining floor wasn't cold. It hummed. A couple asked to sit in her section, then two more. A journalist from the New York Times made a reservation under an alias. The manager caught the name at the last minute and scrambled to adjust. Word was out, not about Kelly, not directly, but about the unknown girl who saved Céline from catastrophe. And just as Chef Leroux started briefing the floor on a revised duck dish for the next photo shoot, two men in navy suits walked in through the staff entrance. Gordon Ramsay's producers. They asked for Kelly by name. The room turned to look at her. Leroux stepped in, blocking the path. She's busy, a hostess, temporary staff. The taller producer raised his phone. Camera footage says otherwise. And he pressed play. It was the kitchen security feed, spliced, zoomed, stabilized, Kelly's hands plating the dish, her face framed by rising steam, no one else in frame. Not Leroux, not Madeline, only her. The chef's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I'm going to say this plainly, the producer said. If she doesn't want to come, that's her choice. But if you're lying and trying to take credit for her work, your name's off our list permanently. Then he turned to Kelly. We can wait outside. 10 minutes. They left without another word. The silence inside the kitchen was suffocating. Kelly looked down at her apron, then at the tray in her hand. And slowly, wordlessly, she untied it. Kelly walked out the back entrance, her apron folded neatly in her hands. The two producers waited by a black town car idling quietly by the curb. One opened the door, the other handed her a coffee. Room temp, he said. You strike us as the type who doesn't like her tongue burned. Kelly blinked, took it. I haven't agreed to anything. You don't have to, the shorter one said. You already cooked your way in. They didn't take her to a studio. They took her to a test kitchen in Chelsea. Sleek, private, equipped like a laboratory for the divine. Cameras mounted on chrome arms. Fridges with biometric locks. A whiteboard with Gordon Ramsay's name written at the top, followed by a single line, "Find her." She wasn't asked to cook. Not yet. She was asked to sit. "Tell us what you saw when you walked into the disaster last night." Kelly shrugged. "A burnt protein, sauce over-reduced, panic." "And what did you think?" She paused. "I thought the plate didn't deserve to go out like that. Not because it's Michelin, because someone had already waited too long to eat." That was all she said. They didn't press further. The producers left the room. 10 minutes later, her phone buzzed. "Unknown number." She answered. "Is this Kelly?" said a familiar British voice, raspy and precise. "This is Gordon Ramsay. You've ruined my sleep. I've watched that bloody video 22 times. Who trained you?" "No one." "Exactly what I feared," he exhaled. "I want you on set Monday. We're shooting a new segment, Kitchen Resurrection. You're the resurrection." She didn't respond immediately. "You don't have to say yes," he added, "but if you don't, I'll just send the video to every culinary institute in Europe. And when they beg you to apply, remember I asked first." Kelly laughed. It caught even her off guard. By the next morning, the video had crossed 2.7 million views. And someone, a junior food editor at Eater, had done a reverse frame grab. A match Celane's security cam. Hashtags changed, not Kelly sauce. The duck that lived, not LaRue. By dinner service, Selene had 3 cancellations and an urgent inquiry from a PR firm demanding to verify kitchen integrity. Kelly's name wasn't on the website, but her truth was now in the air. And truth, unlike garnish, couldn't be wiped clean. By Monday morning, Selene was hemorrhaging more than prestige. The restaurant's Instagram lost 10,000 followers overnight. Comments flooded every post. "Where's Kelly?"
You steal dishes now.
Michelin should reevaluate this fraud box. Chef LaRue tried to pivot. He released a statement via his publicist. "We are proud of our team. Culinary excellence is always a group effort." But the internet had receipts, clips of the burnt duck, screenshots of Kelly's plating, interviews with a prep cook who anonymously confirmed no one else touched the dish. The knives were now pointed inward. Diego started avoiding the line. Madeline snapped at an intern over parsley and was overheard saying, "He made us complicit, now we all look like thieves." In the walk-in, someone scrawled, "The F isn't a flavor" on a box of veal stock. It was scrubbed off before lunch, but the damage was permanent. Then the bomb dropped. The New York Times ran a headline on their food section. The sauce was hers, and they lied. Inside the cult of ego at Michelin's most fragile star. The article quoted guest staff, even a former sous chef who left last year. LaRue doesn't teach, he takes credit. Always has. A photo accompanied the article, Kelly mid-motion, hair tied back, hands steady over the duck plate. Behind her, blurry and out-of-frame LaRue, watching. The caption read, "A new name may carry the future of fine dining." The restaurant's reservations dropped by 30. An emergency meeting was called upstairs. The owner, a balding financier with a passion for truffle foam, slammed his fist on a velvet chair arm. "Fix this," he growled at LaRue, "or you're gone. I don't care how many stars you have." LaRue didn't respond. He walked into the kitchen, told everyone service was canceled for the evening, then locked the office door behind him. He didn't come out for hours. When he did, the sous chefs were gone. A line cook had left his apron folded on the counter. One pastry chef had already applied to Les Bernardin. The kitchen was bleeding. And Kelly? She was across town, wearing a plain sweater, standing in front of Gordon Ramsay. No lights yet. Just her, and a chef's knife she hadn't touched in years. "Where'd you learn that sauce?" Gordon Ramsay asked. They were in his test kitchen now, under surgical lights that made even polished chefs sweat. But Kelly didn't sweat. She stood across the station, knife in hand, dicing shallots with clinical precision. "I didn't," she said. "You didn't what?" "I didn't learn it. I built it." Ramsay paused. "You built it from scratch?" She nodded. "I tasted something once, 15 years ago, when I was 16. My mother saved all her tips to take me to this place, Chez Armand. The chef gave me a spoonful of his reduction. I remembered the acid, the base, the finish." "You memorized the reduction at 16? Kelly looked up, finally. Her eyes weren't cold, just honed. "I don't forget flavors, ever." Ramsay stared. "You're a palate freak." She shrugged. "If you say so." By the end of the demo, she'd broken down a lamb shoulder with the grace of a veteran and paired it with a mash infused with burnt leeks and citrus peel. Ramsay didn't critique. He just ate, silently, then left the room. When he returned, he tossed her a clean apron. "You're on next week," he said. "Guest mentor, episode 4, no edits." But, no but. The industry needs a reckoning. You're it. Back at Saline, chaos reigned. A producer from Bon Appetit called the owner directly. We're pulling the cover. No stolen plates in our pages. A city council rep, tipped off by food labor activists, requested a formal inquiry into workplace exploitation and credit appropriation. Staff began leaking emails. One cook's note read, "He rewrote my recipe and claimed it for the spring menu." Another, "She prepped every stock solo, got zero mention." Then the biggest leak yet. A former intern posted a photo from 5 months ago. Kelly in the prep kitchen reworking a base broth at midnight. Captioned, "She's been doing this for months. They never said her name." It went viral. Over 1 million views in a day. By the week's end, Her Name is Kelly trended across Twitter and Instagram. Food writers called her the ghost genius of Manhattan cuisine. The Michelin board issued a public statement. "We are reviewing the events surrounding Celine's management and dish authorship. Our standards require not only excellence, but ethical credit." Behind the scenes, the restaurant's lawyers panicked. The staff turned. LaRue came in one morning to find his knives gone, replaced by plastic utensils. Someone had scrubbed chef off his locker and written thief. He screamed for Kelly, but she wasn't coming back. She was already standing under a studio's halogen lights, holding a whisk like a scalpel, while Ramsay whispered off camera, "Let them watch what you do when no one's lying anymore." The episode aired on a Tuesday night. Prime slot. No teasers. Just a cold open. Kelly in a white apron, hair pulled back, standing beside Gordon Ramsay. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. Ramsay spoke first. She was called a server, treated like noise, but this is Kelly, and she doesn't serve tables, she rewrites them. Then the segment rolled. Footage of her duck dish. Her hands steady, her movements fast, precise, unflinching. Ramsay's commentary layered over it like a gospel. This is instinct, not training. Precision without ego. She didn't just rescue a dish, she reminded the world why we cook. The internet exploded. Over 10 million views in 12 hours. Celine's Yelp reviews plummeted from 4.8 stars to 2.9 overnight. Dozens of guests reported disrespectful credit theft, citing Kelly's story. A Change.org petition demanded the Michelin Guide reconsider the restaurant's stars. Within a day, it had over 250,000 signatures. Then the footage hit the press. A full leak from the kitchen's internal cameras, time-stamped, uncut. Kelly alone, fixing the dish, plating it. LaRue nowhere near. The footage was authenticated by Food Insider. When CNN picked it up, the anchor didn't mince words. In an industry built on hierarchy and ego, one woman walked in, said nothing, and took them all apart, with a single plate. At Celine, the fallout was nuclear. LaRue tried to call a press conference, but midway through his denial that he'd co-developed the sauce, a reporter played the leaked audio of him privately calling Kelly a dish rat who got lucky. The crowd booed. Cameras rolled. He walked off the stage, sweating. That night, the restaurant's owner made a final call. He released a statement. Effective immediately, Christophe Leroux is no longer affiliated with Celine. We will begin rebuilding trust with transparency. But it was too late. Michelin issued a rare public rebuke. 1 star revoked. The restaurant's name removed from their site pending investigative review. And Kelly? She didn't speak for the first few days. She turned down interviews, declined talk shows, but on Friday morning, she posted a single video from a bare kitchen. Her, standing with a whisk and a cutting board. No filters, no music. Just this. "I didn't want revenge. I wanted to serve the plate right. That's all. But if the plate comes with someone else's name on it, then it's not service, it's theft." The video ended. In 36 hours, it was watched 50 million times. And in the comment section, chefs, waiters, line cooks from every continent, her story wasn't just hers anymore. She had lit a fuse. It started with silence. No public denials. No lawsuits. Just a pause. Until Thursday morning when Kelly woke up to 87 emails in her inbox. Subject lines cold, corporate, breach of NDA, unauthorized footage release, violation of contractual image usage. Attached were PDFs from a Manhattan legal firm representing Celine Hospitality Group. Pages upon pages of jargon accusing her of misconduct. She was being sued for theft of proprietary process, for public misrepresentation, for causing reputational damage. The figure? $1.2 million. No warning, no mediation, just a wall of legal steel thrown at a woman with a cutting board. Gordon Ramsay went ballistic. "She gets sued for doing your job better than you?" he barked during a BBC radio interview. If this stands, every chef who ever innovated in silence should quit tomorrow. Other culinary giants followed. Massimo Bottura reposted Kelly's video, captioning it, "Courage tastes better than fear." Dominique Rennes tweeted, "I've cooked in silence, I've been denied credit. Never again, not when she's lit the path." A GoFundMe launched to cover Kelly's legal costs. It hit $1 million in 3 days, but Kelly didn't take the money. She posted a response instead. "I appreciate every single person supporting me, but this isn't just my story. If I let them scare me quiet, they'll scare the next girl who cooks better than her boss. So no, I won't settle. I'll see them in court." Meanwhile, a whistleblower emerged, an ex-assistant manager at Selene. She leaked an internal memo from 3 months ago directing staff to keep Kelly off the kitchen schedule even during emergencies. She's too calm, too capable. That intimidates LaRue. The memo hit the press. CNN picked it up. A week later, Michelin's regional director released a statement. Crediting the correct creator isn't optional. It's the foundation of our integrity. Selene's remaining star was officially revoked, and just like that, it was over. A restaurant built on ego lost everything because it refused to say one name. But something else was building. Food schools began teaching a case study titled Kelly versus Selene. The James Beard Foundation invited her to speak, not cook, but speak. Ramsey Studio released a trailer for a new docuseries, The Knife in the Silence, starring Kelly. And her face, unpolished, unretouched, appeared on the cover of Food and Wine, beneath one headline, "She didn't raise her voice, so the world leaned in." The courtroom was packed. Not with paparazzi or bloggers, but with servers, sous chefs, pastry apprentices, and line cooks from around the country. Some stood in the back holding copies of their unpaid overtime logs. Some wore pins, "Credit the creator." Kelly walked in wearing the same black sweater she'd worn on her first day at Selene. No makeup, no entourage, just a file folder and the same calm that had made half the culinary world tremble. Across the aisle, Selene Hospitality Group sat rigid. Their lawyer launched every classic attack. She wasn't a registered chef. She breached confidentiality. There's no record of official authorship. But when it was Kelly's turn to speak, she didn't use anger. She used fact. She showed her work schedule, noting the night she stepped in. She played the uncut footage. She read aloud the leaked memo, line by line. And then she said softly, "I wasn't on the payroll as a chef because someone decided I didn't deserve to be. But the plate didn't ask for permission. It just needed to be saved." The judge ruled within the hour. Verdict: Selene guilty of wrongful retaliation, credit misappropriation, and hostile workplace practices. Damages awarded, $1. Kelly had requested it herself. "I didn't do this for money," she told reporters outside. "I did it so the next girl who walks into a kitchen isn't told to stay quiet just because she doesn't look like a star." In the months that followed, the industry shifted. The Culinary Credit Act passed in New York, requiring documented attribution for dishes created by non-executive staff in all starred restaurants. More than 30 chefs stepped forward with stories of stolen recipes. Several restaurants issued retroactive acknowledgments, placing names on menus that had gone unspoken for years. At the newly reopened Selene, under a different name with a new head chef, a small brass plaque sat near the host stand. It read, "This kitchen changed forever because of someone who never raised her voice. Her name was Kelly." Kelly didn't go on a world tour. She didn't launch a YouTube channel. She opened a corner bistro in Brooklyn. 10 tables, no reservations. It served simple food, warm barley soup, roast root vegetables, fresh bread, lemon cake. The menu changed weekly, but on every plate, tucked just beneath the rim, was a tiny stamp, invisible to most unless you knew where to look. It read, "Credit belongs where it's earned." And every time someone asked what the secret ingredient was, she just smiled and said, "I didn't want to be a chef. I just wanted to feed people the right way." And that was enough. Because sometimes the ones who say the least change the most.